Why does a man pull back at the exact moment when he feels the most? Why does he close off emotionally when a connection grows deeper? And why does this happen most often with the women he genuinely loves? For years, deep studies of the male mind revealed something uncomfortable. Men do not run from strong women. They do not escape drama. They do not fear complexity. They withdraw from one single quality in a woman. And this quality is often what you believe is your greatest strength. Most women do not understand what truly happens inside a man when he creates emotional distance. They assume he is not ready. They assume he fears commitment. They assume he lacks emotional depth. But the deeper truth is this: a man who loves you deeply pulls away not because he is cold or incapable of love. He pulls away because you awaken something he has buried his entire life. You trigger a psychological reaction that becomes one of the most dangerous moments in a man's inner world. And here is the painful truth. Almost every relationship tactic you have learned only makes things worse. Advice like "give him space" misses the point. Suggestions like "be mysterious" miss the point. Tips such as "let him chase you" fully miss the point because no one has explained what truly happens in his subconscious when he meets a woman like you. No one has explained why men avoid the very women who touch them at the deepest level. No one has shown you why your emotional honesty unsettles him. And no one has told you that what you believe is a weakness is actually your strongest psychological power. There is a certain trait in some women that men unconsciously fear. Not because it is harmful, but because it is powerful enough to force a man to face himself. And most men are not ready for that confrontation. In the next moments, you will understand what unfolds in a man's inner world when he meets a woman who carries this trait. You will learn why he withdraws even when he loves you, sometimes exactly because he loves you. You will understand why emotional depth creates distance in men, and you will learn a psychological approach that changes everything. Not to control him, not to manipulate him, but to finally understand what is happening in his mind when he shuts down emotionally. But there is a warning. This understanding can hurt because you will see that he is not running from you. He is running from the man he would need to become beside you. He is escaping his own emotional depth that you awaken within him. And here is the paradox. The more real you are, the more you express your true self, the more you force him to face his own incompleteness. You reflect back to him everything he has failed to accept within himself. And that is why he creates distance. Not because you are too much, not because you overwhelm him, not because you are too emotional, but because you are whole, and his lack of wholeness becomes impossible to ignore in your presence. If you are ready to understand why men distance themselves from the women they love the most, stay with this truth. Before continuing, do something meaningful. If what has been described resonates deeply with you, if you recognize yourself as the woman who challenges men simply by being whole, then write one word in the comments right now: reflection. This matters because change does not happen through insight alone, but through conscious action. By writing this word, you activate a process in your own mind. You tell your subconscious that you are ready to face the truth. You are ready to understand what is really happening. This small act becomes the first step toward integrating this awareness. It is like making an agreement with yourself to stop avoiding what you already know. Most women absorb information passively. They watch, they listen, they think it is interesting, and then nothing changes. But women who truly transform their relationship patterns are the ones who take active steps. They choose awareness. They signal to the world that they are not here only to listen, but to change. When you write reflection, 3 things happen inside you. First, you confirm that this understanding is real and you honor your own experience. Second, you signal to your subconscious that you are ready to accept your inner strength instead of believing you are too intense or too much. Third, you connect with other women who live the same pattern, who know what it feels like to be wanted and avoided at the same time. When you look at the comments, you will see how many women understand this. These are women who are no longer trapped in unconscious cycles, but are becoming aware creators of their lives. And here is the most powerful part. This awareness trains your mind to notice the signs in your own love life. You begin to see when you awaken his inner conflict. You recognize when he is running from his own depth. This understanding separates women who repeat painful patterns from women who break cycles and form deep, honest connections with men who are ready to grow. At first, this realization can feel heavy because it removes the idea that you did something wrong. It shows you that your presence alone creates change. When a man senses that change, he feels exposed. He feels seen in ways he has avoided. Your calm confidence, your emotional clarity, and your grounded presence force him to notice parts of himself he has ignored. He may not have words for this discomfort, but his body reacts before his mind does. Distance becomes his shield. Silence becomes his defense. Not because you hurt him, but because you revealed him to himself. This is why chasing, over-explaining, or shrinking yourself never brings him closer. Those actions only drain you and confuse the truth. Understanding this returns your power to you. You stop taking his withdrawal personally and start seeing it clearly. It is a response to growth, a response to depth, a response to love that demands maturity. And once you see this clearly, you stop begging for connection. You choose alignment. You choose men who can stand in the light you naturally carry without needing to escape from it. This awareness replaces confusion with peace and replaces self-doubt with trust in who you truly are. Do this now before we move forward, because what I will share next only works for women who have already taken this first conscious step. Women who only watch and listen passively may hear the technique, but it will not sink into their subconscious. But for the women who wrote reflection, everything that follows will carry deep psychological meaning. So are you ready? Good. If you wrote reflection, then you are prepared for what comes next. First, let me explain something about the male inner world that most women do not know, and that many men do not fully understand. Every man carries a feminine element within himself. This is not a symbol or a metaphor. It is a real psychological structure present in every man. This inner feminine holds everything a man experiences as emotional, sensitive, and connective within himself. And because of that, it is often pushed out of his conscious identity, his feelings, his sensitivity, his desire for deep connection, his ability to feel instead of only analyze. From the moment a boy hears phrases like, "Boys do not cry, be strong, or do not be weak," he slowly disconnects from parts of who he truly is. Those parts do not disappear. They sink into the unconscious. This is where things become important. This buried inner world is projected onto women, especially the women he loves, but not in the same way with every woman. Most women only touch this part of him lightly. They play roles. They show a socially accepted version of femininity. His outer mask connects with their outer mask, and everything stays on the surface. These relationships feel safe to him, predictable and easy to manage. But then he meets you, and something feels different. You are not acting. You are not expressing femininity as a performance. You move through life with emotional honesty. You are integrated, or at least consciously moving toward wholeness. You do not hide behind a mask. You do not pretend. You live from the inside outward. And that is where the tension begins. When a man meets a woman who is whole within herself, something powerful happens inside him. His inner feminine does not just stir, it fully awakens through you. He suddenly becomes aware of everything he denied in himself, the feelings he never allowed, the softness he buried, the hunger for depth he learned to label as weakness. You become a living mirror of the parts of his inner world he never dared to face. In that moment, fear rises. Many women misunderstand this fear. They think he fears commitment, that he is emotionally unavailable, still tied to his past, or simply afraid of intimacy. But the truth goes much deeper. He is not running from you. He is running from himself, from the inner world your presence brings into the light. This meeting is one of the most frightening yet transformative moments in a man's life. It is frightening because it threatens the identity he spent years building. He realizes he is not only control, logic, and strength. He is also emotion, vulnerability, and longing. For a man who learned that strength means emotional suppression, this realization feels like the ground breaking beneath him. So he retreats, not because his love is weak, but because it is overwhelming. The deeper his feelings for you, the more strongly this inner part awakens. The more it awakens, the clearer his inner emptiness becomes. And the clearer that emptiness feels, the stronger his fear grows. Distance becomes his escape. This is the psychological pattern most women never see and most advice completely misunderstands. You are told to give him space, but in his inner world, this confirms his fear and teaches him that avoidance keeps him safe. You are told to be mysterious, but mystery only works on shallow attraction. A man whose inner world you have awakened cannot chase. He is already overwhelmed by feelings he does not understand. You are told to act calm and detached, but your authenticity is what touched him in the first place. If you suddenly become emotionally distant, you lose the very quality that reached him. When that happens, you step away from your own wholeness and return to a mask. And when you do that, you become like everyone else in his life, safe but empty of meaning. So the real question is not what you did wrong. The real question is how to navigate a situation where your greatest strength, your emotional completeness, is also what pushes him away. To understand this, you must know that there are 3 types of men and each reacts differently to a woman like you. One type is fully trapped in his outer identity. His inner world is buried so deeply that he does not even know it exists. When it is activated, he runs and never looks back. He is not ready for growth. The second type is aware on some level that this inner part exists, but he is afraid of it. He pulls away but returns in cycles. He wants closeness but cannot sustain it. He loves you but fears what you awaken in him. This man stands at the edge of transformation and needs something very specific. The third type is a man who has already begun integrating his emotional world. He knows his feelings and has accepted them. This man does not flee. He moves toward you because of your depth, not despite it. So the real question becomes, which type of man are you facing? And more importantly, what do you do when you are dealing with the second type? The man who loves you yet runs, who comes close and then shuts down, who feels deeply but closes himself emotionally. The answer is neither to give up on him nor to chase him. It is something much deeper and more transformative. It is the understanding that you cannot become his healer, but you can become his mirror. And there is a very specific way this happens, a way that changes everything. Before reaching that point, you need clear signs, something practical that tells you, yes, I awaken this inner conflict, and yes, he is running from himself and not from me. Certain behaviors appear in a man when this inner feminine is awakened by a woman. When you recognize these signs, you can be sure that you are not the problem. You are the catalyst for something he must face within himself. The first sign is a cycle of idealization followed by withdrawal. A man whose inner world has been activated will place you on a pedestal and pull away at the same time. He may say things like, "You are different from anyone I have known," or "I have never felt this way before," or "You understand me better than anyone ever has." And then suddenly, sometimes the very next day or week, he becomes distant. He feels colder, harder to reach, emotionally closed off. Most women panic and ask themselves what they did wrong. But nothing is wrong. What actually happened is that his inner projection became too intense. When a man idealizes a woman, he is projecting all the unlived and suppressed parts of his inner world onto her. He no longer sees her simply as a woman. He sees her as a symbol of wholeness. And unconsciously, this creates pain. Because if she represents completeness, then his own incompleteness becomes painfully clear. Pulling away is his way of lowering that intensity. It is not a game, and it is not manipulation. It is a psychological defense. What truly matters is this. If he pulls away but then comes back again and again, this is a man who unconsciously wants to integrate this inner part of himself. He simply does not know how to move through that process. The second sign is emotional overload. He may say things like, "You awaken so much inside me," or "I don't understand what you do to me," or When I'm with you, I feel things I can't control. Women often hear this as romance or as a warning sign. But what he is really saying is you activate the parts of me I've kept buried. In deep psychology, this buried side is not dark or bad. It is everything we pushed away because we believed it was unacceptable. For many men, this includes emotion, vulnerability, tenderness, and the desire for real emotional closeness. Not just physical connection, but deep emotional bonding. When he says he feels out of control, what he is truly expressing is that his usual defenses collapse in your presence. This does not happen with just anyone. It happens only when a woman is emotionally grounded enough to move past his mask and reach his core. The problem is that many women respond by giving even more emotion, more reassurance, more comfort, trying to calm him down. And this makes things worse. It confirms his deepest fear. I am weak. I need her. I am losing control. And a man who believes he has lost control will instinctively try to regain it. The fastest way to do that is emotional distance. So when he tells you he feels overwhelmed, acknowledge it, but do not chase him. Each person must walk their own path of growth. You can witness it, but you cannot save him from it. The third sign is a repeated pattern of closeness followed by retreat. This is the most subtle and also the most revealing sign. He moves closer. The bond deepens. Real intimacy begins to form. He opens up and shares parts of himself he usually keeps hidden. And then, right at the peak of closeness, he pulls back, but not completely. He does not disappear. Instead, he becomes shallow. His messages get shorter. His energy feels flat. He is present in form, but absent in depth. This is a retreat back into a socially acceptable version of himself. He hides there because the real self you touched feels too risky to stay in. What is fascinating is that during this phase, he is testing something without realizing it. He is testing whether you will accept only his surface self or whether you can hold space for his full depth. Many women fail this test without knowing it. They try to pull him back into depth. They ask what is wrong, why he feels distant, why he changed. This response feels natural, but psychologically it confirms his fear. It tells him that his emotional presence is required for your stability, and that feels like too much responsibility. So he protects himself by pulling away even more. The healthy response is very different. You notice his retreat. You respect it. But you do not abandon your own depth. You do not shrink yourself to match his surface level. You remain whole. You stay emotionally honest without demanding that he meet you there. This is the difference between chasing and being a mirror. Chasing says, "Come back to depth because I need you." Being a mirror says, "I remain in my depth, and when you are ready, you know where to find me." This is where real change begins. A man whose inner world has been awakened cannot stay shallow for long. When he knows depth exists, he may try to convince himself that he does not need it. He may pull away again, but his inner world longs for the integration this connection offers. And so he returns, not because you chased him, not because you manipulated him, but because his own psyche draws him back. Each time he returns, he goes a little deeper, integrates a little more, and becomes slightly more whole. This process only works if you do not lose yourself in it. If you begin to hide your truth to keep him, if you reduce your depth to make him comfortable, if you take his inner struggle personally instead of seeing it as his own journey, then you lose the very quality that could have supported his growth. That is why understanding these signs is so powerful. They give you emotional distance and clarity. You begin to see that this is not about you. This is his inner process, and you can witness it without disappearing inside it. But then the question every woman eventually asks appears. How long do I wait? How long do I stay as the mirror before accepting that he may never be ready? This is the right question. And the answer is not what most people expect. Not every man whose inner world you awaken is ready for the transformation it demands. And the most dangerous trap for a woman like you is believing that if you just wait long enough, if you are patient enough, he will eventually change. Growth cannot be forced. It can only be chosen. You can hold the mirror. You can show him what is possible. You can live your wholeness and demonstrate what integration looks like. But you cannot walk that path for him. And here is the painful but necessary truth. Some men would rather stay fragmented than face the fear that comes with real wholeness. These men move in endless cycles. They come close, then pull away. They return, then disappear again. But they never truly stay. Not because they do not care, but because staying would require them to face themselves. So, how do you tell the difference? How do you know if you are dealing with a man who is truly growing or a man who is simply circling his fears? There are clear signs. The first is movement, not stagnation. A man who is genuinely changing moves. He may move slowly. He may stumble. He may step back at times. But there is movement. Each time he returns, he is slightly more open, slightly more honest, slightly more willing to name what he feels. Even when it is uncomfortable, you see progress. A man who is stuck returns to the exact same place every time. The same fears, the same excuses, the same withdrawals. Nothing changes, nothing deepens. The pattern repeats without learning. And this is important. You are not his guide or his healer. It is not your role to carry him through his emotional work. Your responsibility is only this: remain authentic. Stay grounded in who you are and observe whether he is truly doing his own inner work. If after 6 months, a year, or even 2 years, nothing has truly changed, that is not growth. That is resistance. And you cannot save a man who refuses to face himself. The second measure is self-reflection, not blame. A man who is ready to grow eventually takes responsibility for his behavior. He says things like, "I know I pull away when things get intense and I'm working on it." Or, "I see that my fear comes from my past, not from you." Or, "I understand that I'm running from myself." This is a man beginning to accept his inner world. He does not blame you for his inner conflict. He does not make you responsible for his emotions. A man who is not ready does the opposite. He says you are too intense. You expect too much. You overwhelm him. He cannot think clearly around you. Feel the difference. One man owns his inner experience. The other turns his inner struggle into your fault. Constant blame is the opposite of growth. A man who keeps projecting is a man running from himself, and you cannot follow him there. The third measure is that he looks for his own answers. This is the most subtle but often the most important sign. A man in real change actively looks inward. He reads, he reflects. He speaks honestly with people he trusts. He may seek support or examine his patterns on his own. He takes responsibility for his inner life. You do not need to explain his emotions to him or guide his healing. He finds his own language for what he feels, and his actions show it. He knows something inside him needs attention, and he is willing to face it. A man who is not ready expects you to carry this weight. He wants you to explain his feelings, interpret his behavior, and lead him through his healing. He wants you to do the emotional work he avoids. This becomes exhausting because real change cannot be handed over to someone else. So look honestly at the man in your life. Do you see movement or stagnation? Self-reflection or blame? Personal effort or passive expectation that you will fix him? Be deeply honest with yourself, because here is the final truth you need to hear. Your wholeness is not negotiable. You are not here to sacrifice your inner truth so a man can avoid his own. You are not here to wait forever for someone trapped in fear. You are not here to abandon your own growth for the possibility of his. The greatest tragedy is not that people fail to become whole. The greatest tragedy is that they give up their wholeness for the illusion of connection. This is what many women do. Strong, deep, real women slowly give up their depth because they believe it will make a man stay. But here is the painful irony. In the end, he respects her less because on an unconscious level, he feels that she gave up her strength for him. And if it could be given up, maybe it was never fully claimed. This is the harsh paradox. The more you try to keep him by shrinking yourself, the less drawn he feels to you because it was your wholeness that attracted him in the first place. And this is where everything shifts. Stay whole and let him choose. This does not mean becoming cold or distant. It means saying, I am here in my full depth and truth. If you are ready to meet me here, I am open. But I will not make myself smaller to meet you in avoidance. This is loyalty to yourself. And the powerful truth is this: men who are ready for growth are drawn to this clarity. Men who are not ready are pushed away by it. And that is exactly how it should be. You are not looking for just any man. You are looking for the man who is ready to walk his path. A real union happens only between two people who have chosen their own wholeness. It cannot be forced. It appears naturally when both take their inner work seriously.